Hello everybody, I hope you're all well. Yes, I have new hair. It be short, it be pink at the front. I do be an e-girl. So today I'm going to be doing a video all about fat shaming. This is something which a few people got a little bit heated about when I mentioned that I was going to be doing a video about fat shaming. A lot of people have very mixed and very strong opinions about fat shaming. So before I do get into this video, I am going to be putting a trigger warning in here. Obviously I will be talking about weight, food, obesity, morbid obesity, but I am also going to be talking about child abuse and sexual abuse as well. So if topics like that trigger you, please don't watch this video. Also guys, another trigger warning is I will be briefly mentioning anorexia and eating disorders in this video, and on top of that I will be talking about childhood traumatic experiences. So in the last sort of 20-30 years, obesity has become a bit of an epidemic in many countries, including the US and the UK. Obesity worldwide has nearly doubled in the last 20 years, and I don't actually think I realized how many people were obese until I started doing my research. 160 million Americans are overweight or obese, 3/4 of men and 60% of women, and in the UK 2/3 of men and 6 out of 10 women are either overweight or morbidly obese. I'm not really going to be discussing people who are just overweight. I'm mainly going to be talking about people who are either obese or morbidly obese. So obviously, being as obesity has risen and increased so much in the last 20 years, fat shaming has increased along with it. Now, a lot of you guys may be sort of asking, like, what is fat shaming? What do we define as fat shaming? And the Google definition of fat shaming, the dictionary definition of fat shaming, is the action/practice of humiliating someone judged to be fat by mocking or criticizing their size. And obviously, being obese is not healthy. It's actually considered a severe public health crisis. Diseases associated with obesity is heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and many types of cancer. I do agree that size doesn't necessarily equate to how healthy you are. I will be talking about it more in the video. Unnatural Vegan did a great video about health at every size, so I highly recommend that you guys check out her video and her channel. I'm not really super into vegan YouTubers, but she's definitely one of my favorites. And the main thing I'm going to be talking about in this video is, does fat shaming work? And just before I do dive into this video, if you guys are new here, don't forget to subscribe. I upload social commentary videos weekly, and also follow my Instagram because it's my most active social media profile. I personally think the main reason / excuse that people use to fat shame people is because of health. People say, oh well, it's unhealthy, that's why we're shaming them. What I saw a lot in my comments when I just said that I was going to be doing a video about fat shaming, a lot of people were comparing fat shaming to anorexia. People who suffer with anorexia have to go into treatment. A lot of people agree that if you are morbidly obese, you must be forced to lose weight. Obviously, this comparison is problematic in many ways because anorexia is not a weight. You can be any weight and be anorexic, but obviously anorexia is a mental illness, and morbid obesity and obesity is a weight. Obviously, it's a little bit of a touchy subject, but when someone is severely underweight, they are often offered help. They aren't shamed. Obviously, there are examples of people being shamed for being severely underweight. Obviously, the whole stuff that happened with Eugenia Cooney and Onision was absolutely disgusting, and especially I definitely think Eugenia Cooney was really hounded for obviously being mentally ill, which I really didn't think was right. A lot of the time with people who are severely underweight, we don't shame them, we offer help. With morbid obesity, people don't really seem to want to offer help. The sort of notion and the connotation of if you're obese, it means that you are greedy and lazy. People relate obesity with gluttony, and I would probably say 90% of the time when people are morbidly obese or obese, we do not consider how they got there and why they got there. Because we need to remember that someone eating so much to the point where they can't get out of bed by themselves is extremely unhealthy, and it's not normal. So much more complex than someone just being greedy and not exercising. I was reading a lot online and researching a lot, and one excuse that I found nearly everywhere of an argument for fat shaming is we shamed people out of smoking, so we should shame people out of being fat. I'm a smoker, most of us know this. It's a habit that I really need to break, but it is very hard. I have quit smoking before. I quit smoking when I was 17 and it was really hard. I am not a heavy smoker. I only smoke about like 3 to 4 cigarettes a day now, but back when I was 17 I probably smoked about 5 cigarettes a day, and for me to have to break that habit was really tough. And on my research I found that the average time it takes to stop smoking is about 2 weeks to a month. Quitting smoking versus losing weight is not the same thing at all, and I actually wrote down like an example to sort of try and illustrate this. My example I decided to make was a 6-foot male who weighed 400 pounds, which is morbidly obese. The healthy weight for someone who's 6 foot and is a man is a healthy weight for a 6-foot male is 160 to 196 pounds. So the sort of made up person I made is 400 pounds and wants to go down to 200 pounds. So he'd still be considered overweight by a few pounds. I ended up putting all this stuff into like a weight calculator, so I'm not really sure how accurate this is. So according to his weight calculator, let's say our guy decides to burn 958 calories a day. In my opinion, that is really fucking hard. Maybe it's because I absolutely despise and hate cardio. If I tried to lose 958 calories in one gym session, I think I'd pass out. It would take him 2 years to lose 200 pounds if he burned 958 calories a day without any assistance from surgery. And let's say he did get surgery. Let's say our guy decides to get gastric band. It will still take him probably around 6 months to a year to still lose that 200 pounds, and bear in mind he would have to get surgery and recover from that surgery as well, and there is a lot of adapting when you get a gastric band. What's harder, quitting smoking, which takes 2 weeks to a month, or losing 200 fucking pounds? Also, in my opinion, I do not believe that people got shamed out of smoking. Maybe this is coming from me who's a smoker. I personally think people became more, first of all, more aware of the unhealthy side effects of smoking. Also, you can't smoke everywhere anymore. I mean, you can't smoke indoors anymore. There's certain public spaces that you can't smoke. So of course it's going to be harder to be addicted to smoking when now it is socially unacceptable to smoke in a house and to smoke indoors. In my opinion, you cannot shame someone to lose 200 pounds, and even any amount of weight. Losing a stone, losing 10 pounds is hard enough, so imagine trying to lose 100 to 200 pounds. You cannot shame someone into doing that. Losing weight, not only is it you having to exercise, it's also changing your diet and your lifestyle. You can't shame someone into completely changing their life. Making these huge lifestyle changes, it takes motivation, it takes confidence, it takes bravery, it takes a lot of willpower, and it takes a lot of mental strength as well. You can't just expect someone to be able to make a lifestyle change because you're fat shaming them. Fat shaming is a very heated topic here in the UK. I'm sure it's heated in the US as well, but it's especially heated over here because we have something called a national health service. Our healthcare is completely free over here, thank God, as it should be. Obviously the rise of obesity and obviously the diseases linked with obesity, it has put a lot more pressure on the NHS. A lot of people do believe that people who are obese should pay for their own healthcare because it's self-induced, which is just so... And I'm not gonna lie, the rise of fat shaming has not shocked me at all. We are raised to hate fat people, and I know this sounds so silly. As I said in the beginning, I'm talking about obese and morbidly obese people. Think about all of the reality TV shows like My 600 Pound Life, The Biggest Loser. It's not presented as a comedy, but people laugh at it anyways. This whole time we almost trivialize fat people and poke fun at them. It's not funny that someone is so obese that they can't get out of bed in the morning and they might lose a leg.
Also, I think what kind of pisses me off about these shows is that I feel like they're sort of covering up as like a, oh, but we want to see their journey and all of this stuff, but really I just think they're like, it's sort of similar to Jeremy Kyle where they're pretending to help people but they're not really helping people. I mean, one thing about The Biggest Loser is that it's, a lot of people don't know this, but they're basically promoting really unhealthy rapid weight loss and crash dieting, which has actually made a lot of the people who've gone on there far worse. That's fucked up their metabolism. So if you guys actually want me to film a whole video about the sort of dark side of The Biggest Loser, then I'll do that.
And also, may I just add that size does not equate to health. Of course, being obese is not healthy. I think we all know this. But first of all, looking at someone who is obese or morbidly obese, we don't know whether they're on a health journey or not. We don't know that they may be 100 pounds lighter than they were last year. We don't know shit. So the fact that people will fat shame obese and morbidly obese people, you don't know what they've eaten today. You don't know whether they exercise every day. You don't know shit. And it really, it gets me heated. As we all know, I'm slim. I'm a slim person. I am one of the unhealthiest people I know. And there are some healthy things that I do, like I don't drive, so I walk absolutely everywhere. I'm very physically active. I work in retail, so I have to be on my feet all day. But also, all I drink is orange squash. I smoke. I eat so much processed food. I live off potato waffles, bagels. I basically eat nothing but carbs. I have super noodles for lunch 3 times a week at work. I'm sure there are obese people who are on a weight loss journey who are eating and have a lifestyle which is far healthier than mine, but just because they are at the moment obese, people would think on a first glance that I am more healthy than they are. We just need to be a bit nicer. Like, this is what the whole video is about. Just be nice. And also, guys, there are so many articles online on why fat shaming is completely ineffective. I mean, let's be real. Someone who is obese or morbidly obese is extremely likely to use food as a coping mechanism, and food will often be a comfort for them. If you fat shame someone and make someone feel like shit, instead of it motivating them to go to the gym and eat healthily, they're probably just going to want to indulge and comfort eat. One podcast which I really recommend, it really gets me in my feels, it's a very old podcast. It is the HCH3 podcast with Boogie2988. I know Boogie is a bit of a controversial character. I've always had a massive soft spot for him. I watched his videos years and years ago when I was a teenager. I loved his gaming videos. I was watching him when he was at his biggest weight. To see how far he's come makes me very emotional. It makes me feel very proud. I'm so proud of him. He does talk a lot about what it is like being someone who is morbidly obese and what it's like in society to be someone who's morbidly obese. He believes that everyone, even if you're unhealthy, deserves body positivity, because you will get nowhere if you hate yourself. Whether you're trying to gain weight or lose weight, you will get absolutely nowhere if you hate yourself. And I think that's what angers me the most, because people will always use the excuse of health to justify fat shaming. Just because obese and morbidly obese people exist, it doesn't necessarily mean they are endorsing being morbidly obese or obese. So sort of the next thing I fell into with research is, why do people become obese / morbidly obese? I think researching into why people are morbidly obese and obese would really help with reducing obesity significantly. The obvious answer to this question, I swear to fucking God, I swear to God, my neighbour's dog, I swear to God. I think the most popular answer is, well, it's obviously people who eat too much and don't exercise enough. Is true. The main way to get obese is to eat too much and not exercise enough.
And also, I forgot to mention in the video, so I feel like I'm jumping in loads, is that there are literally some diseases and illnesses that make you obese and it's completely out of your control. So already it's very problematic to fat shame people, because some people, it may not even be their fault that they're obese.
Personally, I think it's so much deeper than that, because as I was researching into this, I found out that there is an extremely strong link between obesity and childhood trauma. Obviously, there are obese people who are set up for failure from the get-go. If you are an obese child, you are 40 to 70% more likely to become an obese adult. And what I found out about was ACEs / ALEs. An ACE / ALE is an adverse childhood experience / adverse life experience. In this video, I am going to be referring to it as an adverse child experiences, aka an ACE. Sort of the definition of an adverse child experience is sort of the in-between of an everyday stress and a catastrophic trauma. An everyday stress is obviously something that just stresses you out every day, maybe losing your keys, missing the bus, maybe even money problems, and a chaotic traumatic experience is something which will cause PTSD. In the middle of that is an ACE. ACEs can be anything from being physically, emotionally or sexually abused as a child, parental abandonment, growing up with a parent who either has a mental illness, is an addict or is incarcerated, or you experience domestic violence within your family. Trauma caused by ACEs often goes untreated because it is not recognised as causing PTSD. But of course, any sort of trauma, whether it's as bad as PTSD or not, if it goes untreated for such a long time, it is going to cause problems in the long term, and it's definitely going to snowball. People who experience ACEs are far more likely to have children young and to go to prison. But one thing I found very interesting about people who have ACEs, they are more likely to develop heart disease and type 2 diabetes. And obviously a lot of those diseases are related to being obese. One thing I'm going to say is obviously you don't need to be obese to develop any of these, but it is very common that if you are obese you will develop some of these diseases. Obviously heart disease and type 2 diabetes are linked to leading a very unhealthy lifestyle. I find this so fascinating with the fact that no one talks about this, that there is such a large link between childhood trauma and obesity. In Sweden, they conducted a study with 112,000 participants. This study concluded that childhood abuse leads to a marked increase in obesity as an adult. Over 6 million obese people are very likely to have suffered from childhood trauma and abuse, such as sexual, physical or emotional abuse. There's actually a very good article that I found on The Atlantic. It's called The Second Assault, and it's about the link between obesity/morbid obesity and childhood sexual abuse. Victims of childhood sexual abuse are more likely to become obese because food often becomes their obsession. But there is another reason, and that it is either subconsciously or consciously they are desexualizing themselves because they don't want to experience the sexual abuse they experienced as a child as an adult. There was a 2013 analysis on 57,000 women, and those who were physically/sexually abused as children are twice as likely to develop an addiction to food. Now, this is this video done. I know, once again, my videos don't really seem to have conclusions at the moment. We need to be nicer, we need to be kinder. Fat shaming is not an acceptable way to try and get someone to lose weight. As I've just said, no one seems to talk about the fact that there is such a large link between obesity and childhood trauma. I hope you guys enjoyed it because the dogs are barking outside. If you did, don't forget to give a thumbs up, and if you're new here, subscribe. And I'll see you guys next week for a new video. Goodbye!